Hi and welcome back to the Rural Project. In video number 1 of this series you saw me hire an excavator, dig into the hill and set all the grades, and then auger the holes and set the steel posts that you can see in this picture. In this video you'll see me as I start to install the beams that make up the retaining wall. As you can see, I'm using railway sleepers as the beams. Now the railway sleepers are actually thicker than the internal dimension of the C-section on the post, and that required me to actually recess the railway sleepers so that it would actually fit into the posts. You'll see me performing this task over and over again as we follow this video. So what I did was use a circular saw to make some cuts into the railway sleeper down to the correct depth, and then used a hammer and a cold chisel to knock the pieces of wood out. I had considered using a chainsaw for this job, but I thought it would be tricky to get the right amount of control, and as the railway sleepers are pretty expensive I didn't want to scrap any, so I chose a slightly longer approach, but an approach that was going to be a lot safer with less chance of damage and scrap pieces of timber. Once I'd finished with the recess, I'd grab one of the spare posts and use that as a bit of a template just to make sure that it would fit when I come to actually install it in the retaining wall. This is beam number 2, the second one that I completed, ready to be installed. And there it drops into place just perfectly. Once I'd completed the first row of the retaining wall, I decided the next thing I needed to do was put in the drainage. So what you can see here is I'm installing a drain mat It's a material that basically filters out any dirt and soil from going into the drainage pipe. So I'll put the drainage pipe in a minute and then wrap the drain pipe in this matting. With the pipe installed, I then set about wrapping it with the geofab just to protect it and make sure that no soil would come in and actually fill the pipe up over many years. Once that was completed, I then brought in the laser level and just checked it for fall a final time before I actually started a backfill. And when that was complete, I had one row of railway sleepers and the lower retaining wall, the drainage pipe in place and set at the right height, and then it was time to start cutting more railway sleepers for the remaining rows on the retaining wall. So the way that I did this was measure between the posts and get the dimension that the railway sleeper needed to be, how long the railway sleeper needed to be, mark that on the railway sleeper and then cut it to length. Once the sleeper's cut to length, what I'd do is I would adjust the circular saw, adjust the depth of cut on the circular saw so that it would match the steel beam and then do a multiple cuts across the end of the railway sleeper, and then use a hammer and chisel to knock that out. That would then provide me a small step in the wood which fitted nicely into the steel post. Once I'd done all the cutting and chiselling, I'd then grab one of the spare pieces of steel post and do a test just to make sure that it fitted. It was easier for me to do it that way rather than lifting the beam into position only to find that I needed to do a small adjustment, so I found this a much easier approach. And once I'd completed one end, it was then a case of just repeating the same process over and over again on all the other beams. before I got too many layers on the retaining wall, I actually decided to do a bit of backfill. As you can see here, I'm just bucket load after bucket load of crushed rock was used, just to give a nice clean drainage material so that the water could come down the back face of the retaining wall, down the back of the sleepers, and into the drainage pipe. So what you can see here is the second row of railway sleepers in the lower retaining wall, all sort of dropping into place, and me continuing to do the backfilling of the drainage pipe, or around the drainage pipe. Once I'd got a complete second row in place, I decided I needed to actually start on the upper tier of the retaining wall. So I got all the railway sleepers prepared, cut down to length, and the ends cut down so they would fit into the steel post, and then I set about installing the upper retaining wall. Same process, all the posts in place, a drainage pipe installed. The reason for pushing on to try and get this completed is that upper area then could be used as a car parking area. So once that retaining wall was installed, I could start a bit of backfill, and a lot of the dirt that was on the right hand side of these pictures could then be taken back up onto the top of the hill and used as backfill. So I actually needed to create some space to take some of the dirt to. So if you tune into the next video, you should see me complete the project. Don't forget, if you like these videos, please click like and subscribe, and look out for the next video.